Okay. Good afternoon. Javier Becerra, Attorney General for the great state of California. I am pleased to be joined by our San Francisco District Attorney, George Gascon, and also the great Chief of Police for the city and the people of San Francisco, Chief Bill Scott. We're here to make an important announcement, and we want to thank you all for being here. If I could begin by mentioning that someone we had hoped would be able to join us wasn't able to, the District Attorney for the County of Alameda, Nancy O'Malley, had hoped to be with us. She's been a great partner in this effort as well, and we just want to acknowledge the work that she and her team have done to help us make sure that what we're about to announce with regard to prescription drugs that are obsolete, that are no longer being used, that we can have a way to discard them properly and anonymously. And Nancy O'Malley and her team have been great partners in this effort in the county of Alameda. This week, I hope everyone knows by now, because on Saturday we'll celebrate this by hopefully all participating in this take-back. This week marks National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day on Saturday the 27th, just 2 short days from now. This will be the second drug take-back day we do in California, and it's an important event where we hope everyone will participate. We're calling on everyone in the public to please be responsible when it comes to the disposal of unused medications. That is just one simple way that we can all fight the prescription drug abuse epidemic that we see throughout the country today. I want to thank, especially today, the members of the media who are here with us, because it's through you that we'll be able to get the word out to the families throughout California that this important occasion will help all of us save some lives. Drug overdoses killed more than 63,000 Americans in 2016. Those are the most recent statistics that we have. Nearly 2/3 of those deaths involved a prescription or illicit opioid. This epidemic is a major challenge for all of us, but certainly for those of us in law enforcement. We know that we cannot combat this epidemic and heal our communities by ourselves. We know in law enforcement that we can't simply arrest our way out of this crisis. It needs to be a team effort, and that is why we are here today. At the California Department of Justice, we investigate and prosecute those who overprescribe prescription medications, including opioids. Our Bureau of Medi-Cal Fraud and Elder Abuse combats prescription drug fraud against our seniors throughout the state. In April, we took an action against a doctor, Dr. Satandra Kumar Chopra, who's from Modesto. He's a physician in Modesto, and he was inappropriately prescribing opioids to Californians, not just in Modesto, but throughout the state of California. In addition, California is one of 45 states, which is right now part of a multi-state action nationwide to investigate the major companies involved in the manufacture, distribution, and sale of opioids. Companies like Purdue Pharma, Endo, Janssen, Teva Cellphone, Allergan, and others who were involved with opioids. We also, at the Department of Justice, administer the Cures Database, a statewide prescription drug monitoring program that helps cut down on doctor shopping and overprescribing practices of some physicians. This Cures Database has now been up and running for prescribers, for pharmacists, and law enforcement personnel. And as of October 2nd of this month, it's mandatory for any prescriber who dispenses prescription drug medication to use the Cures Database. These are some of the powerful tools in our toolbox at the California Department of Justice. But just as powerful are the tools that we as citizens can use, starting with the disposition of medications properly. We can do that ourselves by making sure that we're disposing of any medications that we're no longer using properly. Leftover, unused, or old medications can be deadly if they're in the wrong hands. Imagine a young child getting a hold of a prescription drug bottle just like one of these and taking out what's in there and swallowing. None of us wants to be responsible for that happening to a small child. We also know that flushing these medicines down the toilet can poison our waterways. We also know that needles thrown into the trash can not only injure, but might kill an innocent person. That's why National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, coming up on October 27th, is so important. We thank all those leaders who are taking steps to make sure we have safe disposal sites throughout the state of California where people can anonymously return their unused medications. At our last prescription drug take-back event in April, we set up 318 collection sites throughout the state of California. We collected more than 69,000 pounds of medicines in California alone. Nationwide, close to 1 million pounds of medications were collected. It's an important tool and a big step in the ongoing fight against prescription drug abuse. But we need your help. We hope you will participate. That's why we're here today. And with that, let me now turn it over to San Francisco County DA George Gascon.
Thank you, Attorney General Becerra, for your leadership in this area. I want to thank also my partner here in San Francisco, Chief of Police Bill Scott. You know, I think often we believe that drug addiction in this country is driven by drug cartels coming out of other countries. I think that drug addiction is driven by illegal drugs sold on the street. And that is certainly a component of the problem. But the reality is that drug addiction in this country today is being driven by prescription drugs that are often originally prescribed to someone for a legitimate purpose, and then they either become overused or they fall into the wrong hands. And then what occurred, the trajectory, and this trajectory is very predictable, is people get addicted to prescription drugs. Then at some point, the doctors that are prescribing these drugs, they stop prescribing the drugs. And then the person has to go out and start buying drugs in the street because the prescribed drugs are no longer affordable. Why am I telling you all this? As the Attorney General indicated, there is all this horrible statistics about addiction, the number of, big companies that are peddling this stuff out there. But what we can do as individuals is, number one, when we're being prescribed drugs, make sure that we're thoughtful about it. But as soon as we finish the legitimate use for those drugs, is to dispose of them through our local police department or one of the other sites where you can dispose of the drugs. It is very easy to leave them laying around. Most of us, when we get prescribed drugs, often do not take them all, so they're left around. And, young kids or other people begin to take them and use them, or other people start selling them. So the message that we want to get out there today is that collectively as a community, we have an obligation to be thoughtful about, number one, our use of these drugs, but number two, once we finish the legitimate purpose for this thing, is to get rid of, and getting rid of it doesn't mean throwing them in the trash. It doesn't mean throwing them down the toilet, because all that would contaminate either our water supply or contaminate our trash and harms other people. So today we're announcing this drive, but this is something that we need to think on a daily basis about. How do we dispose of unused prescription drugs? Thank you. And I'm going to introduce now our Chief of Police, Bill Scott.
Thank you, District Attorney Gascon, and thank you, Attorney General Becerra, for your leadership. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Scott, the Chief of Police of the San Francisco Police Department. I want to add to what Attorney General Becerra and District Attorney Gascon said. Like so many other American cities, large and small, San Francisco is grappling with an opioid epidemic that has destroyed far too many lives. In our city, there were over 193 overdose deaths in 2017, far exceeding our city's homicide count, which was 56 last year. We know that disrupting the flow of narcotics is a matter of life and death. The San Francisco Police Department is doing a lot of work to get illegal drugs off the streets. Earlier this month, we conducted several buy-bus operations in our Tenderloin and Mid-Market Street areas, our South of Market areas, and the results were tremendous to affect the supply of drugs on the streets. But also, we have to take strategic actions against the dealing of drugs that ruin lives and degrades the lives and quality of life of many in our neighborhoods. And that includes looking at ways like taking prescription drugs off the streets when they are either expired or no longer needed for the person that had them prescribed. All of us probably have some sort of prescription drugs in our medicine cabinets, and usually it makes our lives better. But it's the misuse of those drugs that endangers lives. That's why the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day is so important. The SFPD has a receptacle in each of our 10 district stations to receive prescription drugs. We'll take them, no questions asked. You can turn them in anytime, any day, to any of our stations. It's something very simple that we all can do to make a difference in this area. As we have all said here, we lose far too many lives from drug overdoses, and this is a simple thing. When the drugs are no longer needed, turn them in. Very easy to do. All of our police stations are receiving them, and it will make our city and our community safer. So thank you, and with that, I will turn this back over to Attorney General Becerra.
Sorry about that. Chief, thank you. District Attorney Gascon, thank you very much for being part of this effort here in the Bay Area. We've been able to work with our law enforcement partners and community leaders throughout the state to try to make this happen. It's a great effort. All we need now is for the public to come forward to help us out. And as I said, without the media being here, it would be very difficult to communicate this information to the public. So we want to say special thanks to the media outlets that have come today to participate in this event, because we need you to help us let folks know that there's an easy, anonymous way to dispose of these prescription drug medications, and do it in a way that makes you feel good that some child is not going to be in harm's way. We'll take any questions.